Is UCLA reading the room by retaining Chip Kelly? And hey, it's time to talk Maui Invitational grades for UCLA basketball on Locked On UCLA.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson Yoxheimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. So like, comment, and subscribe. And hey, it's been an interesting week in UCLA athletics, and we're going to keep on talking about it here on the show because this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets when you win a $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 in bonus bucks if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right, well, I know we all want to talk some Chip Kelly, but we'll hold off for that to the second segment. First segment, though, something I've teased for a little bit now. We finally get to it. UCLA's little mini layoff, a week plus off, in between their Maui Invitational run in Honolulu as they prepare to take on UC Riverside, another mid-major game at home in Pauley Pavilion. Should be a win, but we're looking forward or looking backwards into what we saw, what I liked from UCLA, maybe some individual standouts, and what is clear areas of growth. Clear areas of growth, first off, they've got to be able to shoot the ball a lot better. They are an under 30% three-point shooting team, and you want to avoid being a poor man's Purdue by playing big if you can't shoot the basketball. Because what does Purdue not do? They can't always shoot the basketball when they lose early in the tournament. They need good guard play. Last time they had a good guard, his name was Jaden Ivey, right? Now he's in the NBA, and they still lost to St. Peter's in the tournament, right, with the chance to go to the Elite Eight. For UCLA, while they have gotten the guard play, or they're trying to find guys who are emerging into new roles, it's the lack of depth shooting, lack of three-point shooting, lack of perimeter shooting that has been a cause of failure at times for UCLA when they've given up big runs to Marquette, to Gonzaga, that put them behind at significant parts of the game in the second half against now an even higher ranked Marquette team because of what they did to Kansas and scrapped with the likes of the winner of the Maui Invitational, Purdue. And then the Bruins also fought hard with Gonzaga, who stayed as the number 11 team in the country, even though Anton Watson put up, 32 on 15 shots against the Bruins. It doesn't matter. The Bruins overall showed a lot of positivity. I didn't know what this team was going to show coming into this tournament, coming into the season. Those first three games against the mid-majors at home just did not give a lot to be excited for UCLA in 23-24. Now there's going to be a big growth from opening night until March. It still did not give a lot of interest and a lot of excitement, anticipation for this team. Most nearly every analyst elsewhere nationally doubting the Bruins, not putting them in the top 25, only for them opening on the Maui Invitational to scrap and claw nearly to a victory against Marquette. They probably should have won that game if not for a 17-0 run and some clutch three-point shooting by Marquette, something the Bruins do not have consistently over and over again. And when they had Darren Safino, who was the interim acting head coach for a day, the associate head coach with Mick Cronin out sick when the media was able to check in, he was talking in the interview process about our three-point shooting should be well over 30%. We should be better at that. That can be up for interpretation based on what the Bruins actually have three-point shooting-wise to what they've shown. But he says we should be well over 30% three-point shooting. It's up to passing. They got to pass the ball better, get guys open, move the ball around, and get a shooter who's got his feet set and locked and loaded. And while he didn't speak about Lazar Stefanovic, maybe the Bruins should force feed him a couple more times to get some three-point shots going early, or maybe find a couple of plays to get some three-point shots. If McClendon hitting three-pointers against Marquette can happen more consistently, then the Bruins are going to be very deep. If they're going to have to scrap and claw and earn themselves minutes in foul trouble and grind themselves into a slower pace game like Gonzaga at the end of that game, then it'll be a unique season without the offensive consistency. The other thing that is noticeable offensive rebounding for a team that's got Bona, that's got Aday Mara, and then you have Berke, guys who are all big. They weren't consistently getting boards. I know Bona was hitting the boards, but he got in significant foul trouble against Gonzaga. The Bruins didn't offensive rebound. This is something Savino talked about. Limit opponent runs, three-point shooting. Those are three keys the Bruins have to grow forward for this UCLA team. Those are things that must happen for this team to be a title contending team in March, or at least to make a run like they did a few seasons ago in March 2021 in the interesting little tournament setup there where they fell short just against Gonzaga if in that terrible shot. One of a few terrible shots that have happened in the last couple of Marches. Meanwhile, we did see some promise. We saw some promise from Sebastian Mack, Pac-12 Freshman Player of the Week awarded to him after his performance in the whole tournament. In the Maui Invitational, 19 points per game, a little over 6 rebounds per game. Actually got some steals in that Gonzaga game too, but he did leave a shooter wide open that led to the winning 3 for Marquette in the final minute of that game. Consistency from him defensively, efficiency from him offensively will only make his ceiling much higher and a much more coveted prospect at the next level and an even more important piece for UCLA moving forward. So Sebastian Mack, Mick Cronin talked about how good he was prior to this season, where I'm not sure it was on my radar before Cronin kept raving about him, and then seeing how he scored in Spain, his ability in the exhibition, and then what he's displayed during the tougher games so far of the early season for UCLA, 6 games. He is clearly much needed offensively. His growth defensively as an all-around player is pivotal for UCLA this season. His ability to drive, grind, knock down free throws like he did against Marquette, 20 for 22 over that last week, is important. Making circus shots, just flipping it up in the air and somehow it falls to the bottom of the net. I'm not sure how he does it. It's his ability to get to the line, grow as a player that can help take UCLA's backcourt as far as it needs to go this season in a year where Dylan Andrews and Sebastian Mack are filling in key roles for a UCLA team that's lost the Baileys of the world, that's lost Tiger Campbell, that's lost David Singleton to shooter, right? Where Stefanovic is trying to play as that wing 3 of sorts, the shooting guard 2. When you can get Sebastian Mack adding to that three-point shooting percentage, scoring buckets at a much better clip than he is percentage-wise consistently, then it is important for UCLA to see how he grows. But he was a standout key look for UCLA. His development is key for UCLA. If he stays at this level all season, that's good. But if he can grow, imagine how dangerous the Bruins can be with a consistent backcourt. And I like Dylan Andrews. He didn't have the big-time numbers to really ooh and ah over. And when you look at 2 for 15 from the Gonzaga game, 3rd game in 3 nights, it is a little tough. But his grit, his tenacity, he was missing on the floor a little bit during that 17-0 Marquette run on the Monday night game of the first game of that tournament. He is a significant cog and has proven that for UCLA. And his baseline drive, his baseline jumper is important. And we can see how much it hurts the Bruins when it's off. I did like Andrews, but the standout for most people who hadn't seen UCLA the first 3 games or followed them through the summer, seen what Mick Cronin was talking about, it was their first look for across the nation at Sebastian Mack. And I think he impressed quite a few people. Stefanovic, as I've said before, he may never leave the floor. It's going to be rare and far between moments when he's sitting on the bench. And that's maybe just to catch his breath or if he's in foul trouble. And sometimes he might not even get both those things to get him off the floor. It might just take something completely off base for Mick Cronin to get mad and pull him off. Because he's a guy who has limited patience, but he loves Lazar Stefanovic so much. So the growth of Mack and the emergence of him, Stefanovic's ability to be on the floor, and someone who's going to earn minutes going after the Gonzaga game, Ilane Fibeuil. Mick Cronin already talked about loving his effort and everything in between. His athleticism is not at a Jalen Clark level yet defensively and dominance-wise for the National Defensive Player of the Year. But why Mick Cronin was able to say, hey, these are guys who have comparisons to one another. We got to see that on display in the Maui Invitational and against Gonzaga, where he got some key steals, got the rebounding ability. Darren Savino was talking about his athleticism is so unique, his ability to go get the ball on the glass is something that's almost innate to him that doesn't need to be taught, that he can just do an all-around thing without scoring the basketball. The Bruins can go small simply because of Fibeuil's athleticism. His development can be huge over the next season plus, however long he stays at UCLA. So Fibeuil is going to earn minutes going forward. I'm fairly confident of that. A lot more after a scooter accident causing him to miss the first game. He played less than a minute in game one. He will earn minutes going forward just because of his defense. No Jan Vide, the other three international players, Berke just getting his feet under him, getting his feet wet. Aday Mara in some foul trouble, needs to develop at a much quicker pace, I think, for most UCLA fans to ooh and ah over him. But those are things UCLA needs to improve. Shooting, limiting runs, offensive rebounding. But I did like Mac's emergence. I like Andrew's toughness, even with the tough game in that third and final day. And I do think Fibeuil will earn a lot more minutes moving forward for UCLA. Overall, you can't say 1 and 2 was an A performance, but there's a lot of positives to show this team can compete with Arizona currently ranked number 2, SC now dropping out of the top 25. If the Bruins can get their stride heading into Pac-12 play, all of a sudden, they could still compete for this Pac-12 crown in addition to moving on in the NCAA tournament. There's a lot to fix, a lot to grow, but I'm very positive and I'm very happy with what I saw. I was disappointed at the moment of the games, at the end of the Chaminade game, when they just let a team back in it who's a D2 team, cost themselves the Marquette game, and were so close to stealing the Gonzaga game again. But a lot of positives. I would give it a B- effort. For what we thought coming in with this team, a B- overall. It doesn't come in results. It didn't come with some super spectacular, memorable week, but it did come with growth and something that Mick Cronin can hang his hat on and teach this team moving forward. B-, the results to see because they went 1 and 2, and there are things to grow, and those are areas that I believe in this coaching staff can teach this team moving forward. Now it's time to stack up wins, build that resume, get a much easier path, stay in the West, which unfortunately Arizona looks to be the 1 seed at the moment, so that's going to be a little tough to stay out West when the regional finals in Los Angeles this year. And I'm already going bracketology on you guys in late November. Stay with it. Stay with it. Speaking of staying with it, Chip Kelly staying with the UCLA program after reports come out. He is going to be retained, kind of going back and forth with he's probably going to get let go. The trend of the UCLA fan base is no, but he's going to stay. But the banner, was it a banner year? It was, for a much different reason here on Locked On UCLA. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with winning any $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now because the app's super easy to use, a wide range of betting options from spreads, player props, and more. You can check it out by visiting FanDuel.com/lockedon. Again, FanDuel.com/lockedon. Kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. And I know most UCLA fans would like to be hiring a new football coach right now. But more importantly, if you're a small business and you're trying to get that new hire and it feels like a high-stakes wager, you're going to want to check out LinkedIn Jobs because they've got the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. Hiring is easy when you have many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. And it's not just another job board with LinkedIn. It's a vast network with more than 1 billion professionals, making it the best place to hire. So LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have those resources you need. So thankfully, the process intuitive, quick and easy. And there's new features with job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Man, oh man. Okay. So Monday, a whirlwind of emotions. Recording the podcast, I was wondering what's the vibe? what's the vibe? It certainly wasn't positive towards UCLA football. Every different outlet has at some points, in my perspective, had a sour taste, if not called for Chip Kelly's job, either flamboyantly, on the air, written about it. It has all been sour taste. And let alone the fans, everybody I've talked, limited, everybody, close UCLA friend circle, generally. Not very happy with Chip Kelly. Not very happy. I had discussions when I was still optimistically on the Chip bandwagon. Zach, what are you thinking? After the Arizona State game, I jumped on the let's get rid of Chip. USC was a great time. That was fun. Cal, you could have been like, oh, emotions, yada, yada, yada. The way they lost just made it seem like there has to be some sort of stamp of approval that is firm or some immediate action with the transfer portal officially opening the early window on December 4th. And I know I talked about grad transfers hitting the portal. That was Cam Brown and Keegan Jones, but that's just the first of what could be a mass exodus. Except UCLA is now, after the reports that they're going to keep Chip Kelly, at least for the next year heading to the Big Ten, that doesn't make many fans happy. In fact, I was sitting, between Ben Bol's Bro Report, different people at the UCLA campus, that there was the read the room banner, fire Chip Kelly hanging, flying over the Wasserman Center. In a banner year, we would have hoped. I'm not sure that's the one banner we wanted to see at the beginning, near the end of the fall sports season. It's the winter, as we're a crossover season, 2023 into 2024. Not what we had in store for this last year in the Pac-12. So it's clear, fire Chip Kelly trending on social media. Many outbursts, fan forums, everything going back and forth as to now how do we rationalize keeping the man for an extra year? I'm frustrated. Now there are, people will say, you can say excuses. There are reasons for believing in Chip Kelly for another season, but this is a make or break year. If this year was not, obviously next year is the hot seat. Doesn't matter how many years he extended. Next year, he's got to do something with UCLA putting the stamp of approval. Disagreements, the pushing up to Martin Jarmond, everybody, no. Why is he keeping him? I don't know. I can't. There's the rationalization for the Chip Kelly argument is the fact that, one, UCLA was not truly expected to compete this year. They weren't expected to compete last year. Dark horse, right? But if you're a dark horse, it doesn't mean you're automatically guaranteed 10, 11 wins like the Bruins were challenging for in 2022. What they're doing in 2023 was experimenting in the quarterback room between three quarterbacks who were trying to earn time and learn behind an offensive line that was a little leaky in key moments where the season saw mistakes on every side of the football at the wrong time, and the Bruins just lost some close football games. This was not a team that won a lot of close football games, that came back down 2 scores and earned themselves some hard-fought victories and some very crushing defeats in games where they easily could have won them, should have beaten ASU, and should have done much, much better against Cal, and very well could have won the Utah game. We can go into the other two at another time. So the idea is Chip Kelly masters the portal. I don't even know who they're going to lose the portal right now. If there's so much frustration, I wonder what it's like in the locker room. I do think there's quite a good assistant coaching foothold right now. I just wonder who might leave the staff after this season. And most importantly, it's retaining D'Anton Lynn. Because if you lose D'Anton Lynn, while he did have a lot of great pieces given to him, he certainly retooled the ideal UCLA defense into a very standout defense that at times was a disunified front because of poor offensive play this year. All around. Just where they would be there, you get a stop, the offense scores, and the special teams gives up a touchdown after they took the lead, and the defense is like, we don't even get a shot to go sack the quarterback or make a play again. They love playing. You could see this team defensively love being out there making big plays. It was evident when they started showing off in the Utah game and building and growing forward for the Bruins. Now, the idea is you hopefully keep D'Anton Lynn. You don't lose too many key pieces to the portal. It doesn't matter at what position. Well, it kind of does, but we're not going to go full in detail. There is different things, different players that are key for different reasons and that can leave in the portal or go to the NFL draft. And you hope the Bruins don't lose too many of those pieces. Now, what is Chip Kelly going to bring in the portal? Hopefully, an improved special teams unit, whether it be they find a returner, a dynamic guy, whether they improve the kicking situation after Nick Barmiro was a grad transfer who left the program heading, I believe, to Oxford after this, not to Oxford, went to Starkville for the last part of his eligibility. Now, imagine UCLA with a better special teams unit, hopefully some continuity in terms of defensive success. It's not going to be the same names and faces next year. You got veterans moving on. Can the Bruins grow and develop that defense with new guys? And most importantly, can Chip Kelly get to the offense that is so dominant that even if the defense gets in dips from 23 into 24, that if the dip is not too much of a fall off of a cliff, that the offense jumps to a significantly better point as they were in 22 points in 21, then UCLA could certainly compete much better with older quarterbacks, all of whom have another year of eligibility. All three of those guys can play still. Based on what's listed on the website, they still can play another year. Obviously, you look at Dante Moore turning into a sophomore. You look at Garbers, who could still come back. Schlee, there's so many different ways everything can happen. But everybody can battle and grow for an opportunity. Now, can they improve the offensive line and give the quarterback of the future a chance to throw the football consistently without pressure in the backfield and run the football over and over again? Where can the mesh of the portal between the high school commits all work? Now, I was reading, I believe from Greg Biggins, big key recruiting analyst on 24/7 Sports, about how Christian Dunbar Hawkins, one of their top-rated recruits, is getting an offer from Louisville, unofficially visited recently. So the Bruins might lose Derek McFall, who just decommitted and committed to SMU. It was a bit of a shaky situation because he never officially came to campus, from what I've read, from Bro Report and everything, and he went to SMU. He committed to SMU. He's a Texas guy, but was one of their higher-rated recruits. Dunbar Hawkins has been one of the longest committed Bruins, highest-rated recruits. He's trying to leave town and decommit from the UCLA situation. That is not a good sign. Wondering who might decommit already from a high school class that needs an uptick in talent and development, because we know Chip Kelly loves his high school recruiting. So look out for high school recruiting. What does that change and go forward? And how does Chip manage the portal? Where this year, I think there might be a more subtraction, and he's going to have to not only get better, but fill the holes from the guys that may leave. I have no inside information as to who may leave between the draft, between the portal. There's no speculation. There just will be guys, because there's already 2 in the portal right now for grad transfers. There's always going to be guys, whether they played 0 snaps or a bazillion snaps. There will be guys. And have the Bruins read the room? There is a reason why their top donor in Martin Jarmond are keeping Chip. Whether it's for financial reasons, because they made the extension, and if you wait a little bit, that buyout is even less because the Big Ten money has not hit the bank account just yet, or if they say, hey, both those things, but Chip, based on our expectations, reached the goals, despite us as deep UCLA supporters for the football program expecting more, wanting more from what we saw from the defense this year, and we got it from the defense. We wanted a better overall record. We ended up with a 7-5 regular season. And just when you smack SC, you're just going to enjoy just the fruits of that. Now for UCLA, you win the SC game. Now that means it probably meant it kept Chip's good job. It basically did. It's how much fun Martin Jarmond had bringing the bell in. Now, it's not a knockout. They're keeping him for another year. There are reasons to try and hope for the next season. And I hope the Big Ten is not as daunting as it may seem. The big move for mostly every single sport for UCLA. Now I just wait and I wonder, is there anything that can change their mind? As of the recording of this podcast, the Bruins will retain Chip Kelly. The banner says, read the room, fire Chip Kelly. Is there any amount of fan support that public opinion, the court of public opinion is out, and it says Chip Kelly's not the way to go? National media completely disagrees with all the UCLA fans, including myself, all the local people who cover the Bruins, even people in the network who think differently than myself about the Chip Kelly question. Except if you've watched the Bruins team this year, there are games they should have won. And they should at least have 9 wins. They should at least have 9 wins in the regular season, which I think would have been a pretty solid season. That's not what they have. That's not how they performed. And that's certainly not how they looked in the last game of the regular season. Now, I want to remain optimistic as I can, but it is a little stunning to see the back and forth, little voice of public opinion, the reports coming out. He is staying, at least for now. Who knows what can change over the coming weeks? But for now we got to eye the portal, eye who may come in, and how the high school recruiting class is affected by the Chip Kelly news, for better or for worse, as the Bruins retain him. Did they read the room? I'm not sure they're reading the room. But sometimes the job of the people who have the big decision-making to do, sometimes it's to do the unpopular thing that may lead to success in the long run. It would just be shocking to nearly everybody who watches, covers, loves UCLA football as to what we saw turn into something dramatically better in 2024. It can happen. There is room for success, but it's got to happen quickly in this December portal month. That is a big month for Chip and UCLA football heading into the Big Ten. Huge month. Absolutely huge month. All right. Now we'll talk UCLA women's basketball because they got that dub over UConn. Talk about them next on Locked On. Got to join Prize Picks. They're the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. All you got to do when you're playing it, it's you against the numbers. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can watch the winnings roll in if you're a baller, if you're cool. In the meantime, just know that there's a specials league. You got combo projections. If you're trying to get 2 different players from 2 different leagues, LeBron James, Travis Kelce, for example, 10.5 combo with 3-pointers made and receptions, you get that. You go to community plays. You play against and see in the special tabs in the app to view the entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. You can go check that out. And there's even an injury reboot policy, the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. Check out Prize Picks at prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege for a deposit match up to $100 with the code LockedOnCollege. Again, that's prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege. Use the code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Daily fantasy sports made easy. Well, we're wrapping up Locked On UCLA today. Zach with you guys. And hey, the Bruin women, number 2 in the country, them pesky Gamecocks out in South Carolina, they jumped 20 billion spots because they beat somebody, and now they're number 1. That's been the case. UCLA has survived a scare at home against Princeton, beaten Niagara, and they beat UConn by double figures, knocking out Paige Bueckers and a injured UConn team. But that doesn't lessen the impact, the importance of the win on a neutral site by double figures for Corey Close's bunch, because they are still waiting. There has been no public word. I believe I read from the Daily Bruin that they asked semi-recently. I haven't read anything other than that there's been no public official update on the Emily Bissoir injury from her overseas international duty playing hoops. And that's a big key piece the Bruins are missing. While UConn was missing a couple of key players, Bueckers still put up 31, arguably one of her best games, easily her best 3-point shooting game since coming back from injury for the Huskies. But the Bruins, hey, they proved they're here to stay. They can compete with some top teams in the country, jump down to a 16-point lead against the Huskies. But unfortunately, the Bruins, despite their quick starts, are so horrendous in the second quarter that they let teams back in it, whether it be Purdue, whether it be Princeton, whether it be UConn, who crept in so much closer and made it a game in the second quarter heading into the break. But the Bruins blitzed them in the third, outscoring the Huskies 22-8, and found themselves eventually winning 78-67, where 3-point shooting has been on point. Charisma Osborne's shooting has been much better because she doesn't have to shoulder the entire load of all the shooting. Doesn't have to lead the team in scoring every game. 6 of 10 from 3, bam. That's going to be big for Osborne and the Bruins. Kiki Rice, a double-double, 24 points, 11 rebounds, close to a triple-double with Paige Bueckers on the other side. That's a baller performance right there. And Lauren Betts is just that post player the Bruins have needed. They needed that last year. And they maybe could have gone on a crazy run. They get it from Betts this year, 13-7, 35 minutes, 7 shots, and Betts makes 5 of them, 13 points. That is the definition of efficiency in the post and getting easy buckets. That is what UCLA needed. And when they shot nearly 50% from three, made most of their free throws, shot close to 46% from the floor, they did what they needed to do. Now they got to cut down on turnovers, 16 turnovers against UConn, while the Huskies only turned it over 9 times. It was the Bruins making life hard for them to shoot. The Huskies only made 1 shot in that third quarter, 1 for 15. And that's where the Bruins blitzed them and ran away with the game, holding them off at the end. Overall, the game was won slightly in the paint, but the ability by the Bruins to shoot the ball well from three and prove that they're a legitimate contender, not just in the Pac-12, although the team across town has a pretty good player, and the Bruins are going to have to reckon with her late December, early January. You got to deal with Stanford, who's working their way back up in the rankings, and still all the other host of tough teams in the conference that are very, very good, like Utah, the defending champs. Washington State brought back their best player and the reigning Pac-12 tournament champs. I just said Utah, Stanford, SC. And they still got a tough schedule ahead of them. But to knock off UConn is a big milestone, of which we hope to get good milestones knocked off this year, whether it be a Final Four run and hopefully something deeper. This team deserves the support. Got to wait for the Bissoir injury update, which I'm not sure how good that will be. Maybe it's just mom and it's been something. I have not read anything just yet publicly. And here the Bruins are seeing the development of their super sophomores from Betts, Kiki Rice, Gabby Jaquez, right? They had the comparison of Jaime Jaquez Jr.'s week and Gabby Jaquez's week. Pretty funny mashup. Pretty awesome that both of them, brother and sister, are hooping it up. Straight ballers on the court. UCLA, fantastic. They are doing some good things offensively. Just got to limit the turnovers. The shooting's much better, more consistent. And just the addition of Lauren Betts is immense for their defense and their low post interior scoring. Just completely changes the game for the Bruins, who don't have to go in, drive, and get swatted like they did last year. They got a force to be reckoned with. That is very important. And the development of everybody around them, from the sophomores to Charisma Osborne coming back, the leadership of Cam Brown. She might not provide a lot offensively every single game, but just that leadership in the locker room has to be important. Just from seeing the videos, her, everything. You've got veterans on this team who want to win, and they have proven they can do so at the highest level. I don't want to take anything away from UConn. A little banged up. Obviously, Fudd out for the year. Huge loss. Would have loved to beat them with Fudd and a more healthy roster. But that win, still important. I'm not saying the UCLA Bruins are going to be unbeaten the entire year, but they will be very fun to watch this entirety of the season. We should go pack Pauley Pavilion when they play the Trojans, when they play all these other teams, and beat them up and go win a natty. Let's do it. All right, let's go with the positive note. Hands off, hands up, hands off. Let's go. Hands up. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach Anderson, Yoxheimer signing off. Go Bruins.